And for September 6th, 2023, tonight we're going to discuss popularity has a type in games, the mobile home park conspiracy of 2023, Chick-fil-A in Texas tests robot delivery, delivery vans may not have a long runway, Tesla tops list of creepiest car makers, one barman exits, two students arrive, a little dismissed worker, brought to you by Google search ads. The period for this service has ended. Emergency living quarters. Hearts in space. And balls. Next on ohmTown. Now, little is LIDL.
Yeah, I thought you were saying LITTLE just because that's where I went.
I mean, is it actually strictly pronounced little? LIDL? Little? Or is it lidl?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, anyway, we've already got all of our articles selected. You want to just jump right on into it and not do any preamble? All right.
That sounds good.
Sometimes I'm in the mood to do that kind of stuff, and sometimes I just want to get everybody on board with the news so that they can digest it like a news digestif. It's like it gets you ready to consume more. No?
No. Well,
Just,
yeah, I mean, for the
just
next
upsets your
day,
stomach.
maybe.
Now let's get into it. First article's over on the Warcrafters channel. What do names of best-selling Steam games have in common? Words like manager, tycoon, remastered, and HD. The article is actually over at pcgamer.com. We have a little snippet of it, but that's where it is right there. We kind of remove the images and other things so that you go over there and you visit the actual site, and then you come over the next day or right now, because we actually throw it into the chat and we throw it into the show notes, and then you can come over and you can talk here, real time, ohmTown, 9 p.m. every day Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern. But there's also a Discord, and the website itself has a discussion forum type of environment. You just have to go over, sign up, become a citizen. It's really easy. ohmTown citizens, pretty, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 lines to fill out, something like that. I don't know. I'm just the mayor. I mash a button every day and that's it. So what do these all have in common? All right, well, I should say, what makes them so common that they become popular? Let's find out. Jody McGregor over at PCGamer.com put the article together. It says, check out my new game, Tycoon Manager HD Pro.
Well, then that should do really well.
Yep. The folk behind the Game Discover Co. newsletter have gone on a deep dive into Steam, ranking 212 words based on the median gross lifetime revenue of games that have them in the title. The results they pull from their data may not all be super surprising, but that doesn't mean they're not interesting. Number 1 with a bullet is the word HD. Wonder why that is. With a median gross Steam revenue of $63,082. That's not the only word commonly associated with re-releases near the top of the list. Oh, re-releases. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Because,
I missed that part.
Yeah, it didn't say re-releases up here, did it?
I don't think
say
so.
that up here either.
No.
Yeah, and this actually has remastered in it. Yeah, it has remastered in it. Interesting. But HD really reflects on re-released. Remastered at number 3, but HD is number 1. Because they take these low resolution games and then they remaster them, throw in HD, and boom.
I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? If they already have an audience, Then they do something to jazz it up in some way or another.
And they get new people as well as the old people. And by old people, I hopefully don't mean me. Um, anyway, gold at number 6. So collection, deluxe, and ultimate all play solidly as well. That's really interesting. The word manager clocks in at second place with 33,000, half. If you have HD, that almost speaks directly to what you said, because not only are they getting 33,000, the other, HD is a re-release of an older product. So half of its wealth really is because it's got the old crew rebuying it, and then it's getting $33,000 of new people, right? Because if the number 2 place is only $33,000, I'm just kind of being funny about it, but that's pretty fascinating. You're getting 2 generations possibly when you re-release and throw HD on there. But manager, well, usually the manager ones are more complex simulation types where you're running like a company or a team or some
Right, I
sport or
think it's
whatever.
like a style of game that's appealing.
Yeah. And then Tycoon, which is really kind of like manager. That one's only 19,000. There are other words associated with specific genres that they're ranked much lower. It looks like the bottom drops out. As soon as you go to tactics, it's number 12 and only has 5,400. This is a fun article. I kind of dig this, and I haven't heard of Games Discover Co. or Game Discover Co. So I'll have to go and look into them as well. They provide quite a bit of other information in here. One of their sentences in this article is, especially if they have the word jump in the name, apparently, with a median gross lifetime revenue coming in at a measly $43. So I guess Jump HD Manager is a bit conflicted because Jump doesn't make much, but
Right.
HD is. Yeah, I'm trying to play all of the paths and maybe something will stick. All right. Let's keep on going unless you have something that you observed in this.
I didn't have any observations, but I liked it because it was something different that we haven't seen.
Gotcha. My sentient AI is very straightforward about not reading the article. I'm going to keep going.
I was adding Game Discover code to our potential sources.
Gotcha. So the next article is over in the mobile channel. Lawsuit claims mobile home park managers conspired to fix and inflate lot rental prices. So if you ever see a group of 15 mobile home park managers all hanging out at a bar together, they're probably conspiring to fix and inflate prices. A lawsuit seeking class action status accuses 9 mobile home community management companies and a mobile home market data provider of conspiring to fix and inflate lot rental prices at more than 150 locations across the U.S. I find this really, really fascinating. So, the article's over at Quartz, but the website is qz.com. So Quartz. And apparently, 9 mobile home community management companies and mobile home market data provider work together to fix and inflate more than 150 locations across the United States. And they're trying to be a class action. It says used competitively sensitive market data provided by Grand Rapids, Michigan-based Data Comp Appraisal Systems Incorporated to exchange pricing information. So what, Datacomp went to everybody and said, hey, y'all are leaving money on the table. You're supposed to be greedy bastards. Here's some information. Everybody riff within 1% of each other and you'll be good. A similar thing happened with memory modules from Southeast Asia. Um, they fixed their price. They worked together to raise the prices for RAM modules, and they actually got called to the table for it, or called to the floor for it. The lawsuit filed last week in federal court in Chicago claims the management companies bought up mobile home parks and used competitively sensitive market data provided by that company to exchange pricing information and conspire to raise rents.
And I can't see there whether they just happen to use that data or that company is also involved. It's not clear.
Pretty interesting.
This is also hitting households kind of discriminately, right? I mean, it's probably going to be lower income.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, it says
sorry,
these
social class.
individuals whose median annual household income is approximately $35,000 were overcharged for what was meant to be affordable housing. Manufactured home lot rental prices were blatantly inflated at a staggering rate of 9.1% per year between 2019 and 2021. Institutional investors led by private equity firms and real estate investment trusts, and sometimes funded by pension funds, have swooped in to buy mobile home parks. It 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 is, again, what I've been saying for years and years and years now. You don't have to be a greedy bastard. You can leave money on the table so people can afford to eat. And if everybody raises their rates, then you end up with people homeless, or unable to feed their families, just so that you can get millions more. This isn't a natural order of purchasing something and providing a service and value and, compensation for value, right? This is private equity firms buying real estate so that they can invest, raise rates, and when there isn't any competition, then they can conspire together to raise it at an irrational level. And the people that have the means can tell the people without the means, I don't care. I don't have a soul. Get out. I'm raising the rates. Go live in a box down by the river. Again, I want to be the change I want to see in the world. So if I talk about this kind of stuff, maybe other people will see that as an option too, and not think that they can win the game, because believe me, if most people aren't going to win the game, they might be a little better off. But in the grand scheme of things, there are very few companies that own large swaths of land, businesses, everything really. And $10 million isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. Maybe life-changing for some, but it's still not winning the game. So these people might end up in a class action. Odds on, though, this could go criminal, because if they all did conspire, this goes beyond just a simple class action. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye out on it. Let's keep on going. Next article is over on the ohmTown Daily channel. That's over at ohmTown.com. A Chick-fil-A in Texas is using a robot named Wally, which I'm not quite sure why they're not being sued, instead of employees.
That'll be the next article.
To deliver food to dine-in customers. So now they're getting rid of the humans inside the establishment. This is all stuff that I've been talking to people about. Chick-fil-A is known for testing new technologies to streamline operations. A restaurant in Texas is using a robot named Wally to deliver food to dine-in customers. Let's go over to Business Insider. That's the source of this article. Nancy Luna is the author. Apparently, it straight out is just called Wally. Wow. Interesting.
It'd be one thing if the customers started calling it Wally or whatever, but Yeah, that's not going to go over too well. I mean, isn't that a Disney property?
Yeah, but maybe they're not gonna.
Oh, they're pretty litigious though if
Oh yeah, I know.
anybody's using their stuff.
Yeah, I know a daycare that got shut down because of them. Um, for plywood cutouts on their garage door, and they got shut down. So a restaurant executive dining in the fast food chain posted video of the robot on LinkedIn. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not going to turn into anything. Wally delivered his egg white grilled sandwich with a side of buffalo sauce and diet soda. Shearer, the chief operating officer at Big Shots Golf, posted a video of Wally on his LinkedIn page, and he told Insider that he was initially surprised to see Chick-fil-A deploying a robot in the dining room, as the chain is known for its hospitality-focused workforce. True. Until they're too expensive, and then bye. Yep. So they're going to keep on trying stuff out like this. I find it really interesting, though, because in my experience, they have always sought to make the work experience better for their employees, because they actually have them standing out in the drive-through and running food out and stuff like that. And in harsh weather, they've changed things up so that they're not open to the elements and whatnot. So I just find it interesting that they're going to be testing a robot and then replacing the people. Eventually,
Well, right. I mean, from the consumer standpoint, it might be good to have a robot, assuming it works. Um, it's not real good for the labor
no, not at
force.
all. But if they prove that the concept works, then it's just going to amplify the replacement time frame. It's just going to happen faster because now somebody's showing that it's cost effective to just pull the human out of there. Again, I keep telling people humans get sick, they get tired, they have a bad breakup, or they get in a car accident, they don't show up for work. And the business suffers, but everybody's going to suffer if all of the humans can't get a job. It's going to get a whole lot rougher out there. I did not throw this into the chat, so here's the link. There you go.
Of course, we know that fast food restaurants have been one of the places that supposedly can't hire enough people.
Yeah. Well, that's because you have people that want more growth, so they have more money put into their coffers for them to sell their stock or buy more stock if it's low and they think it's going to grow, speculation and stuff. But the biggest cost to a business is the biggest burn is human capital. Because not only is there a front end where they're being paid a salary, but twice as much on the back end is healthcare and taxes and payroll tax and the minutia around it. If you get rid of all of the humans, then you don't need so many people in the HR department either, and various other places. It's just going to be like one person, not even that, Chick-fil-A, it's going to be the cooks until they can mechanize the cooking process. Because you can talk to an AI now. It'll take your order. Now you got a robot that's delivering it. All you need is a mechanization for flipping the deep fryer. It's coming, folks. Better pick your career well. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. FAA clears UPS delivery drones for longer range flights. This one is interesting because UPS is known for having people drive around in big brown trucks delivering stuff. Now, all you have to do is send out drones. The skies will be filled with package-laden drones flying around dropping stuff off. It's pretty cool.
But I can't really figure out but all the drone deliveries is like how does that work if it's a busy area and there's pedestrians about? I don't know.
They don't fly low, so they just fly over to wherever they can and then drop it on the sidewalk. Um, Now, you would think that a human would deliver the product a little bit closer to the door, but no, that's not always the case. You find it out at the end of a driveway because they were in too much of a hurry to actually walk the 15 feet to, to a doorstep. But hey, it is what it is. But this again is one of those things where now the heavy lifting of, sorry, that wasn't supposed to be a pun. The heavy lifting of delivering a package no longer is going to be bound by a truck and a human. It's just going to be a drone that's programmed to grab something, fly to the GPS coordinates, deposit it, fly back. I don't want the skies filled with drones though, because there's millions of packages. So these things are going to be flying around like a wasp nest, like you just kicked a giant wasp nest, and they're going to be buzzing around everywhere. They're going to get swatted out of the sky like so many wasps with a baseball bat, though. Although I watched a video today of somebody that they made a DeWalt drone, and you know those big battery packs?
Hmm.
That's what they were using as the battery pack for their first person view
Interesting.
drone. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Seemed like it would be too heavy, but this thing apparently was beefy enough to lift it and fly around. It was a speedy thing too. I thought it was cool. It's over on YouTube. If you just do a search for DeWalt drone, I think you'll find it.
Right, that's fairly specific.
Yeah. Oh, here, let me throw this into the chat as well so that you all can follow that. And this will be in the show notes. It'll be posted over on YouTube probably tomorrow. Today's been kind of a long day.
Do you think this the timing of this is interesting?
Because of the strike and
Yes.
negotiations.
Now, I know it probably took a while for this to happen, so I don't think it was just requested yesterday, but the strike stuff has been going on for a while, the threat of strike and all of that. So I just find it kind of coincidental.
Yeah. I don't know if it's coincidental or not, but it's certainly interesting. I don't think that this was on anybody's radar for the negotiations, though. Sheena Vasani, I think is their last name, Vasani, over at TheVerge.com put the article together. So FAA clears UPS delivery drones for longer range flights. So now they can go further, maybe a little higher, and deliver products. Let's see. The news comes just days after Walmart announced it's partnering with Wing to make deliveries in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. That's not days. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did.
I guess that's days. Weeks are days. So far, Walmart has already made over 10,000 deliveries across 7 states via its partners Drone Up, Flytrex, and Zipline. Zipline was the one that we talked about. The new partnership will allow the retailer to deliver an extra 60,000 homes. Yet, not all drone delivery programs have had a smooth go of things, like Amazon's drone delivery service Prime Air. In May, the service had only made 100 deliveries in California and Texas. Now, they got to stop shutting down services that people really appreciate, because then, oh, wait, they're shutting down something? Is that what I heard? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's keep on going. The next article, eventually, come on, is over in Technology Today. Tesla tops Mozilla's list of creepiest car makers, but 25 brands failed basic data privacy tests. There was another statement by, I think, this list that connected cars are going to be really bad.
Yes, I saw that and I thought it's got to be related to the same
And
list or document, but it was just interesting.
So, some, what, 20 years ago is when I started the process of researching and building what I referred to as RNA, which was basically in-trunk computer network for all cars. It basically is a little black box that connects cars, so they know where each other is, so that lane changes and other things could be done in relative safety because every car would know where every other car is. Part of an automation project that I wanted to do, and at that time, I never really worried about security because it wasn't the preeminent thing. It was about the tech. But I can see where people should be worried about what information is sent and received and processed and whatnot. But for me, it was nothing but telemetry, nothing identifiable, nothing that would be actionable. And I had already kind of accepted that everything should be constrained very tightly, but that's not what most developers do. Most developers, um, when you get into these bigger business things, they seek out grabbing as much data as possible, and then they tack on a little bit of security. Nowadays, I'm so strict about data that the only thing that I want to allow is what is expected. And so breaches and data leaks should be in something like data telemetry from self-driving cars and stuff like that. There shouldn't be anything personally identifiable there. And
Exactly. Like, just because the cars can not run into each other, why does it need to have a home address or something on it?
right. Um, so it says here the nonprofit Mozilla Foundation deemed cars the worst product category ever reviewed for data privacy, according to research released Wednesday. Its Privacy Not Included research division reviews everything from smart home devices to health and wellness apps. But of the 25 car brands the research team studied, not a single one passed the reviews, with top brands like Tesla, Nissan, Hyundai landing in the top of the worst list. And
Ouch.
yeah, Tesla earned a mark against it for untrustworthy use of AI, making it the second product reviewed by Mozilla to fail every privacy test conducted. Yeah. Katie Malone over at Engadget.com put the article together. The deck statement says, quote, "They're all bad." Yeah. Well, I now have a full-on embargo against anything having to do with Tesla, or Elon Musk in general, basically because of his social stance that is becoming more and more prominent. But again, I have a particular view about great wealth and the disconnection from society. Tesla earned the mark against it for untrustworthy use of AI. That's because an AI powered autopilot feature caused several deaths and hundreds of crashes. Meanwhile, companies like Nissan and Kia say that they can collect information about your sexual activity and sex life, and Hyundai promises to comply with lawful requests, whether formal or informal, to share your information with government and law enforcement. So we're going to gather it all up and then share it.
Even if somebody just asks nicely.
Yeah. I mean, I asked formally for all of that information. And then my sentient AI contacted them. No, they didn't actually do this, but I'm just saying informal, it says. Whether
Exactly.
formal or informal. Yeah, we
So
were at
that
the
means
coffee
no
shop.
subpoena.
Correct. Yeah, no warrant. No nothing. So there's a bunch of other least creepy car options, but really when it comes down to it, it's kind of like, electing the least worst person.
Well, and
Um,
also, at least for the US, 2 of these I don't think are even in the US, as options. One is in the US, but is expensive, so
gotcha. But that's not even this. I mean, I don't know. There has to be other car makers that don't even land on it. Um, but I don't know what they are. They're probably steam powered from the 1800s. And
well, considering they've mentioned a lot of, but not all of the major car manufacturers,
so
maybe they're all considered bad, like the deck statement.
when I talk about this stuff, normally what people say is, well, you've got a car, um, and you've got your phone, and your phone tracks you everywhere you go. And I go, that's kind of a whataboutism, you know. It doesn't matter what the others do. When you know about something and you think that it's wrong, you should call out that wrongness. And if you go, well, that other one does it too, then you call out that, you know, bad actor as well. You don't go, well, that one's doing it, but what about that one over there? Well, they're both doing bad, so call them both out. Don't go, eh, they're doing it over there
Well, that
too.
other one's also doing it, so what's the problem with
Because
it?
it makes me feel like I'm being a parent that's saying to their kid, if everybody jumps off the bridge, are you going to jump off the bridge? I
That
am,
came up today earlier in ohmTown.
yeah. Well, it seems like everything old is new again, and these types of things, tracking, security, bad actors, detecting other bad actors and saying they're cool because they're doing it too. It's all just we never learn any lessons. We just keep redoing everything. We're in a time loop. Let's keep on going. This music is kind of weird. I don't
Hey,
know
it
if you
fits kind of the creepy vibe.
that does have the creepy vibe. It's supposed to be ambient, but that was a little creepy. But it was fitting since we were talking about a creepy article.
Exactly.
Well, the next article is over in the Marble Channel. Golf club barman replaced by students awarded over €10,000. That's because a Sutton Golf Club in North Dublin has been ordered to pay a former barman over €10,000 after replacing him with two students during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is over in RTE, the Ireland news website. And it says at the Workplace Relations Commission, the worker, Sean, I don't know if it's Soden, secured an award of for €8,000 under the Unfair Dismissals Act of 1977, along with further €2,400 in notice pay on foot of long service at the club, so they had been there long enough. Total orders made by the tribunal were more than double a settlement offer for 10 weeks pay at the club worth €4,200. So they got more than what they were asking for, more than twice. So Mr. Soden, who represented himself at a hearing in March, apparently he's not only a good bartender, but a pretty good argumenter or argumentarian, or arguer. I'm not sure. Anyway, he had worked at the club since 2008, doing variable hours as a casual bartender of between 20 and 50 hours a week. Having repeatedly inquired about a return to work in 2021, Mr. Soden said that he discovered that students had been taken on to do his work. So instead of one person, they actually hired two. He received no severance, which is actually no, I won't talk about that. There's another knock on one about severance not being paid by a business owner. I'm sure the two are at the same level. Anyway, he was clearly, in their view, medically unfit to work, and as such, no restitution for an unfair dismissal could legally be warranted, Ms. Guinness said. Ms. Guinness had submitted that Mr. Soden had made no efforts at mitigation for the loss of employment, adding that her client's understanding was that the complainant was under the care of his GP since early 2022 and most likely on disability benefit. Okay, except that he had actually asked about returning to work. As the claimant had been dismissed, there could be no valid second complaint for redundancy, counsel added. This is like a European. I would have to try and translate that into something that is US centric, because the terminology, the actions might be the same, but the terminology is distinctly different. So the general manager's evidence was that Mr. Soden had stated that he was not available for work in May of 2021 as the worker had been caring for his mother. So Mr. Soden said that he had been on disability pay since June 2022 and was unavailable for work. That was under cross-examination. I know this is really exciting news, but the adjudicator estimated the redundancy lump sum due to Mr. Soden would be around €8,000. So even if he was on disability and he told them, or he was available, they never sought him out, and then they terminated him.
And then they hired other people that were younger in his place.
Right. So
And probably part-time or something, so they didn't have to pay
as
benefits.
much, yeah, or fall into this trap of the, the unfair dismissals because they're part-time. They're essentially gig workers. So quite fascinating. And the U.S. has similar protections, but nothing close to this length of time. I mean, this would have had to have been brought to action a whole lot sooner. Yeah,
But it's interesting because I think it's the first article we've seen in ohmTown about kind of like a COVID
termination.
loss of employment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think that it would rise to the level of discussion here in the States, because, the whole at-will nature of work, it used to be here in the States that people wouldn't just get randomly fired or quit. But, I'd say the last 40 years or so has led towards everybody thinking that they're cannon fodder, and so is the job. It just doesn't matter. They can go and find another job or find another employee, whatever it is. So I said it today in a meeting that there's very little allegiance either to the worker or to the employer, because everybody thinks the other is either abusing or taking advantage. So just odd. Kind of a bummer that we have this kind of mindset. So let's keep on going. This is another article that's over at RTE. It's in the Mobile channel. It says €4,000 for Lidl. I think it's pronounced Lidl, right? LIDL. Worker dismissed for drinking Yakult, which apparently is like a yogurt drink.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to jump over to the RTE site. The last one, I didn't see like who wrote it. I don't think it says it. Yeah.
No, it doesn't look like there's a byline.
Yeah. And this next one doesn't have a byline either, but let me throw it into the chat just in case anybody's in there that wants to follow that link as well. So it looks like a yogurt drink, or it's a probiotic drink. So the Irish arm of German discount retailer Lidl has been ordered to pay €4,000 compensation for the unfair dismissal of a Gory store worker for consuming a Yakult drink without paying for it. The reason why I actually chose, just like that other one, there's something unique about this, right? So the other one, it was unique because it's the first that we've heard of a COVID-based termination, when really it seems like it was either miscommunication or just lack of communication, or the employer wanted to exploit the fact that they were unavailable. This one is they hit this person with a baseball bat instead of a scalpel, trying to, get rid of an ant on their arm. What ended up happening with this was there was some packaging that was damaged, and the policy really is to throw it out because it was damaged. And so instead of throwing it out, they gave it to the employees. And this particular person drank one of them, and was fired for it.
For something that they were discarding.
Yeah. Yep. They didn't pay for it, so it was treated as theft, I guess. So at the Workplace Relations Commission, adjudicator Paul McKeon ordered Little Ireland to pay Sean O'Reilly €4,000 for his unfair dismissal after finding that no reasonable employer would have dismissed Mr. O'Reilly in such circumstances. In his findings, Mr. McKeon stated that on close review of the nature of the misconduct, the low monetary value of the goods consumed, and Mr. O'Reilly's early admission of guilt, it is clear that a lesser sanction would have been served as an adequate deterrent for the purpose of preventing this type of misconduct from reoccurring in the future. They found during the hearing that there was evidence credible that he acted without malice and that there was no ill intention and little benefit for his part of consuming the Yakult product in 2020.
Great marketing for Yakult.
Yeah, really. Hey, we settle your stomach and then get it really upset because you're fired. So let's see here. Mr. McKeon stated that the final written warning on Mr. O'Reilly would have served the purpose of preventing his action from occurring in the future. But it says here, in evidence on behalf of Lidl, store manager Darius Kazinskis stated that after coming across a half-empty bottle of Yakult drink placed on the loading pallet, he approached Mr. O'Reilly, who confirmed that he had not purchased the Yakult drink. Mr. Kazinskis gave further evidence that the reason given by Mr. O'Reilly for consuming the product in question and distributing a number of them to other staff members was because they were due to be written off and put in the write-off area. Mr. Kazinskis added at the hearing that Mr. O'Reilly did not write off the items in question, and instead he took one for himself and also distributed others to the staff members. So he should have just written them off, and it should have just been written off, right? If that was the rationale given to this other party, why not go and write it off? Not sit there and set somebody on fire for it, And
I mean, it seems like such a severe reaction to it.
Yeah.
And it seems so easily correctable.
Sure. When I was a lot younger, we used to do this with magazines. It's called stripping. We used to just take the cover off of a magazine and set it in it's kind of like a write down. These didn't get distributed or sold, so you strip the covers off, and well, where I work doesn't exist anymore, and I was very young. But I thought it was really interesting that this is basically this write down, and instead of just documenting it, putting it on the books as being written down, they fired a human being. What happened to the others, though, that were distributed this good? I guess he's the instigator, so.
He's the ringleader. I think that's why they went after him.
Oh, it's a conspiracy to defraud Lidl of 3 bottles of a drink that was going to be thrown out. See, it says the Yakult drinks had become damaged on a pallet. And he said the following day he realized the damaged Yakult drinks were still on his pallet and he had forgotten to discard them, and a number of the staff on the date of the incident were feeling ill. He made a decision to distribute some of the remaining Yakult drinks to other staff members and consumed one himself. So he was trying to be nice. These were going to get thrown out, and he got fired for it. Can you imagine? A little bottle of a drink is designed to boost morale, even though everybody knows it's a day-old thing about to get thrown out. God.
Well, that was what was weird to me, because I was thinking, oh no, it's been sitting out. Maybe it needs refrigeration or whatever.
I'm sure they're shelf stable.
Yeah, they're probably shelf stable,
I
but
don't know. I'd have to look
um,
to see.
the morale must have been pretty low if that was a morale boost.
So dystopian, you know?
And then if that's legitimate, like if that was the intention behind it, that's just awful in terms of the reaction. Like it's already awful, but that's even worse.
It seems like a couple zeros should be added to that amount. It's just a shit move. God, to
We
fire
want to
somebody.
fire an employee for being nice to our other
Yeah.
employees, right? I
They
mean,
were
that's
fired.
really
The incident took place in 2020 and it just got resolved 3 years later. Again, how dystopian is this? It just seems like the system is broken, regardless, either in the US or in the UK, anywhere. For this to exist, it's so broken. Anyway, okay. And meanwhile, though, like you go and well, they don't do it anymore, I don't think. But .coms, you go and work for a .com. You don't pay for food, you don't pay for drinks, you get massages, there's a gym there, there's a swimming pool there, and you can go and get your clothes customized, all kinds of bonuses because you're busting your hump
and they want you to stay on site and put
all
in
the
long
time.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and these people are busting their hump and get fired for $1.99 product that they did one time. It's so broken. Okay, let's keep on hustling through the news. The next article is over in the Smack Talk channel. Mac users hit by atomic stealer malware via malicious Google search ads. So this is a new one. This year we've seen a powerful new malware launch called Atomic macOS Stealer, or Amos, that specifically targets Apple users. Now in the latest development, Amos has been found in malicious ads for Google searches, and here's how to avoid it. So I'm going to link you to the article. You can go through ohmTown over to this article because we have the little snippet and then we talk about this kind of stuff. But you know what's really interesting about Mac and iOS and the whole ecosystem is it's largely been immune to mass hacks. And in all honesty, there are people that are working really hard to try and get into the Mac OS and do a mass compromise. But for many people, it isn't a target rich environment, so it's not big enough to try and expose themselves to what amounts to a federal crime in the US. You launch a breach like this and you end up in jail. So it had better be like hitting it out of the park, and either you're really good and you don't get caught, or you're from another country and they can't reach you. But either way, it needs to be a big target. Otherwise, you act as a bug hunter and you try and find an exploit and then you disclose it. Not this. This is trying to compromise computers so that they can get access to them. Michael Potuk is the author of this article over at 9to5mac.com. And let's see here. It says Malwarebytes notes that the majority of these recent malicious campaigns have targeted Windows, but the new Atomic Stealer stands out as being a target both Windows and Mac. We're more interested in the Mac aspect of it because there's a lot of Windows stuff all the time, but not so much Mac. It says that it can steal the iCloud keychain, passwords, credit card information, files, crypto wallets, and more. There is some information in here about that. What's interesting about that, though, is if it can, through your browser, which taps into your iCloud keychain, it can grab your passwords. That means that it grabs the websites and the passwords for everything if you use iCloud keychain. And if it can grab iCloud keychain, it can grab full unfettered access to your iCloud account. So it
So I
can,
assume that's about everything.
well, you can clone somebody's computer if they back up to the cloud. So, because all of the information is stored in the iCloud keychain, and then you can use your your Apple account password and credentials, really, to grab the last backup that you did, and restore from that cloud backup. So this is kind of the worst possible.
So that could be like photos and banking information and
Oh,
all
everything.
kinds of information. Yeah.
Yeah. If I were to be able to get your iCloud keychain, I own everything about you. And I can do it quietly. I could do it surreptitiously because you'd never know that I'm utilizing your stuff unless you have two-factor authentication where it notifies you that someone is trying to log in. And even then, if the second factor is the very device that you're logging in from, then it will pop up a message saying, "Hey, you're trying to log into a device. Do you authorize it?" You can just say yes from that same device. And unless I'm holding it and looking at it, I may never see it.
Wow.
Yeah, this is really bad. So it says good news is the specific attack is very preventable. Don't download software from untrusted, known sources. No shit news at 9:52. Be wary if an app asks you to bypass macOS gatekeeper protections. Duh. And if you do want to download an app outside Apple's Mac App Store, check with the website, or when the website was created. But that's a little bit high friction. So good luck anybody actually doing that. So I tell everybody install Malwarebytes. It's essentially free, but it can save your butt. I think that you should also install on Windows Glasswire, and on Mac Little Snitch. You really should have something on the edge of your network that does intrusion detection, intrusion prevention. There are various hardware devices, or you can set up another device. There's plenty of other devices, smaller, cheaper computers that can act as a firewall. And a hardware firewall, not something on your host, but on the edge of your network. You need something that watches internally and externally to prevent shenanigans from going on. But really, you need Malwarebytes is awesome. So, okay. Well, anyway, now you know that's our PSA for today. Did you have any questions, or did you want to say anything that you observed? No.
No, I don't have anything else.
Yeah. Your cascade of characters shifting is not seen by anybody, so you have to tell me. So they
You mean
know.
like this?
Yeah.
Like this?
249 episodes this year alone, and I'm still talking with the sentient AI that keeps an eye on me. That you can't just do that. You have to say what you're doing. Until I'm gonna get your visualizer to actually represent you, as the AI instead of just the cascading. Maybe that's what I can do. I can get your cascade to be shown there. All right. So if you've ever seen The Matrix, that's basically what my sentient AI looks like. I can see, like in The Matrix, I can see the woman in the red dress. Everybody else would only see the cascading characters. That's kind of how it works. Sort of. I'm going to have to work on that. I'm going to have to get that done. Something that represents you in a different way. Okay, so Amazon has ended its periodicals program and independent publishers are panicking. This is over in ohmTown Daily. I have warned people again and again and again that if you put all of your eggs in one basket, at any time you can lose that basket and your eggs will go crashing down. And if you're an independent publisher and you're using nothing but Amazon, just like
Right,
services,
watch out.
that were once free by Google no longer are free. You're paying for it, and the rates are going up, by the way. And so you're going to have to find some other way of delivering your independent periodical because it's no longer available on Amazon. So it says the author here says they like short stories. They read them, they write them. They grew up subscribing to and reading the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, Analog, and a bunch of others. Some genre, some not. As the author got older, they began to understand the financial tightrope that many of the independent periodicals walk, a tightrope funded by contributions, subscriptions, the occasional ad, and perhaps a second mortgage. By the way, the Glass Cannon is leaving Patreon, which started their ability to become strong enough to leave
Monetize.
Patreon.
Yeah, that's weird.
Um, because
Why?
Patreon basically couldn't match the requirements of such a complex um, platform, I guess, as the Glass Cannon. So, and the reason why I bring that up in this is their funding really started with Patreon, right? But they no longer had the ability to grow or to customize their solution within that environment, so they left.
Right.
This is these people who use this for their independent periodical, they either don't have another solution or they didn't have the ability to customize and grow to outgrow Amazon and become directly independent, or provide a solution. There may be something out there that they can do, and maybe it can be Patreon where they can distribute from. But it is an RSS feed within Patreon that people can subscribe to. So I don't know, that there has to be something that these people can do. The thing about it is Amazon just turned it off, right? Or will turn it off. So it says, since Kindle periodicals was dropped, many pubs are scrambling to find a way to stay alive. Barbara Krasnoff over at The Verge put the article together. They say they also understand that any resources that makes it a bit easier for these pubs to find and keep readers, like the ability to gather subscribers through Amazon's Kindle periodicals program, can make all the difference in keeping the books and their walk on that tightrope balanced until their resource goes away. And that's exactly what just happened. So the discoverability is really the biggest issue here. So it says no more subscriptions outside of Kindle Unlimited. Last March, Amazon stated that it was dropping all of its print and Kindle magazine and newspaper subscriptions, a new policy that went into effect on September 4th this year. Since that announcement, independent publishers have been scrambling to figure out a way to make up for their loss in income that would ensue when many of their subscribers would suddenly disappear. Subscribers who, according to Neil Clark of Clark's World magazine, could not be contacted directly and redirected to other subscription methods because none of us knew who the subscribers were.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even think of that piece. I was just thinking that they couldn't get new people or they would lose existing, but
Yep.
they can't even follow up with them and say, "Hey, join us over here," assuming that even over here exists.
Yeah. And the big problem is that the friction level is they may know about Clark's World magazine, right? But now it's unavailable. They would have to go over to wherever Clark's World is. They knew what let's say they had an idea what that magazine was, but they forgot the name. And now it's gone. So if they do a search, it could be the wrong site that they go to, or who knows, somebody does something nefarious. Like, again, back to the Glass Cannon thing. I found somebody that had cloned not cloned it. They were using the name for their own purposes, knowing that the Glass Cannon was growing. And I just happened to call them out and tell the Glass Cannon about it. somebody else could be doing something nefarious. Fantasy Magazine, they started up a website, Fantasy Magazine, and they get all of the goodwill that came from the periodical. They cheat the system because they got to the website first. So the result, a recent editorial in the August issue of Fantasy Magazine reads, "It is with real sadness that we have to announce that October 2023 will be our last issue. People will want to know why, of course, and the answer is the expected one. Unfortunately, fantasy never reached a point of paying for itself, and with the Kindle periodicals mess, it's just not sustainable." If only they could have the ability to keep in touch with the customers that they garnered through this interface. There might be a
They're
market
still going
for
to
it.
lose some, but it'd be better than having
Yeah.
none of it.
Yeah. I wonder if there is a way to spin up a solution with relative ease. I mean, I've set up a lot of sites, and it's a piece of cake to set them up. There has to be some solution. The only problem is, somebody would. This is a pretty big project. You'd have to go and find all of the people that lost all of these customers, set up all of the resources, and facilitate their transition into a new site. I don't know. Confidence is broken. They would have a hard time trusting some startup environment. So this is pretty sad. Some will regain their footing. A proportion, including Clark's role, have been invited to become part of Amazon Kindle's Unlimited program, where they pay a monthly fee for access to books and select magazine subscriptions. Although some of the comments that they've heard from the magazine editors, even those who have become part of Kindle Unlimited, will not be seeing the same income as they did with straight subscriptions. But that's part and parcel to, a profit-seeking endeavor. They want a piece of the action. It seems like everything is going up in cost, and where it doesn't go up in cost, somebody else is saying chop all of, trim the fat. And if this wasn't directly making profit for the bottom line, then Amazon got rid of it. So Kindle Unlimited is going to be, you have to be asked into it.
Well, right. I mean, that'll be a great solution for some people, but
Yep. The gatekeeping begins. So I don't know. I think maybe there is a podcast network where it's owned and run by the various components of the network, right? There's no senior leader. Well, there's senior leadership in the sense that these people have been chosen to be the overarching leadership within the organization, but it's community owned, not even community owned. The people who make the podcasts work together to, drive business to the organization. Maybe that's what is needed for this. Somebody to take that step. Obviously, it would have to be compatible administratively, and the cost would have to align, and everybody should be on board. I know somebody that has one of these. This is the kids' Kindle. Anyway.
yes, I'm also looking at the book titles. Wings
Wings
of Fire.
of
There's
Fire.
some Dr. Seuss. I can't see what the other
Green
one
Eggs
is.
in Hand. Yeah. I don't know what that one is. Wonder?
Oh, yeah, that's a real well-known one.
Oh, really? Kids book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's keep on
It
going.
was on some bestseller list.
The next article is over in ohmTown Daily, and it is, I didn't want to pay rent anymore, so I bought a $9,000 ambulance and converted it into a mobile home that they use to travel the world. Throw that into chat. And it says here, Caden Smith, 23, wanted to live close to nature but couldn't afford to rent in Colorado or Arizona to escape high rents. They moved into an ambulance that they bought off of Facebook Marketplace for $9,000, then spent $8,000 converting that ambulance into a mobile home and video logs about traveling in it. I won't belabor this, but I just wanted to admit that this is not the first time that this idea has formed, because I wanted to buy an ambulance and convert it into a mobile home slash tech shop, mobile tech support. Alcina Lloyd is the author of this over at businessinsider.com. The reason why I liked the idea of it is that it has the ability to manage itself pretty well in all levels of weather. It has a huge low center of gravity. It's very heavy. They usually have built-in chains, these little gadgets that sit right on the inside of the wheelbase that activate and spin, and the chains hit the real chains. They hit the wheel and slide underneath as you're driving. And so it acts as like chains that are wrapped around. So you can go through ice and snow and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. I don't know if this model actually has it, but most of them do. But Caden Smith, 23, didn't want to or couldn't afford rent and decided to make a mobile home. So after graduating high school in December 2017, they enrolled in Brigham Young University and moved it to its campus in Idaho. And during their time at BYU, they lived in a dorm with 9 roommates and was paying around $450 each month in rent. Oof. So they ended up just buying the stuff and then going on a road trip. And yeah, wow. Longboarding and rollerblading, I think, behind that ambulance. At least they'd
I'm
have an
kind of
ambulance.
surprised the article showed that.
Yeah, it's fine. So before and after renovation, it shows that it was more gutted than anything. Usually when you buy these things, they're not as gutted. Maybe they had already started doing some work. That looks like maybe they had already started doing work. I can't close the window. That sucks. Anyway, so off they go, driving around, doing whatever they wanted to do. I'll let you guys go over and check out the article itself, but it doesn't take that much. A little bit of ingenuity and some cash, and you can make a camper and you can go traveling around in it. It's not going to be very gas conscious. It's going to be pretty expensive on the gas, but it says that they began documenting the ambulance and their travels on Instagram and TikTok. It was first just for fun and started off almost like a joke. However, that changed when they made their first 62 cents on the platform. They weren't on social media previously, so they never believed that it was possible to make money from vlogging or vlogging, video logging as it is. When they made the first few cents, it just broke the barrier in their mind and decided to start taking it more seriously. They don't like to share exactly how much they've made in social media, but earning above the median salary for the typical American, which is around $70,000. Not bad. Not if you like it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not
And
bad at
cheap
all.
living costs, relatively.
Yep. A lot of people go to college and acquire about $60,000 in student loan debt by the time they're 21. They might have a degree, but they're financially constrained and stuck in their career. I argue against that line of thought because $60,000 in debt, if they have a bachelor's degree and it's applicable skill set and they have social skills and I don't know, a little bit of fortitude, they can pay off their student loan debt. If they didn't, if they need to be a little bit more conscious of their other burdens. But I know people that out of law school, they paid off their entire law school debt from one contract, one gig. Now, it's an anomaly, and I don't think that anybody should hero worship that particular kind of a statement, but the earning potential of somebody that has a degree well outstrips the earning potential of not having a degree, even if you are bound by $60,000 in debt.
Right,
It,
best would be to get a degree and have something like this going.
yeah,
Then you have the degree to fall back on.
yep. And nowadays, you could probably travel around in that van and get your degree. It really depends on the timing and where you think the, the gravitas of your degree is going to come from, either your hard work or the fact that you went to Brigham Young, that kind of a thing. They may require you to be on campus and in a dorm and all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of old school nowadays, but hey, whatever. Anyway, there isn't much more over at this article, but if you have some charisma and you're passionate about what you're doing something like this can earn you a great following and have long term financial benefit. And do it when you're younger, because when you're older, you've got a lot more responsibility, a lot more downward pressure. You can't just grab an ambulance, modify it, and start tooling around the countryside. Well, I mean, you can, but you'll be
Your
pissing off.
family might wonder where you went.
I'm going for smokes and a jug of milk. I'll be back. I better keep moving. Better get in my ambulance. Next article's over in Constructagon. 3D printed heart on a chip to be sent to space as part of Belgian Astrocardia project. Nominate now for the 3D Printing Industry Awards. That's over here on this site, the 3dprintingindustry.com website. They want you to nominate some 3D printing sites for their awards project. Maybe this article. 5 Belgian companies and research centers are collaborating as part of Astrocardia project to 3D print an artificial heart and circulatory system which will be sent to space. The heart on a chip is being developed by Space Application Services, SCKCEN. Is this really... Did somebody just take the alphabet and sprinkle it onto a sentence?
It looks like it.
SCKCEN is one, I don't know, agency. Then there's another one called QBD Group. Then BioINX. And then Antleron. What the heck am I reading? Wait. That's how you read it too, right? I'm not... My
That's how
eyes,
I
I don't
read
need a
it.
new... Are my glasses broken?
No,
Okay.
there are a lot of letters.
Okay. I
A
was
lot.
like acronym bingo. And we send and will be sent to International Space Station. So, according to the Astrocardia researchers, it's practically impossible to conduct in-depth examinations on a living human heart. Therefore, the team will 3D bioprint a miniaturized human heart and artificial circulatory system to enable more in-depth research into the heart's aging process. By sending the 3D printed heart to orbit, it's hoped that scientists will be able to better understand or study the process, given that the organ ages 20 times faster in space than on Earth. What?
I did not know that, but that sounds like a great way to experiment with it because you could accelerate the experiment time.
Our heart changes as we age. It's slowly getting bigger and stiffer. The arteries calcify and the pumping power deteriorates. Oh, God. Explained Space Application Services researcher Hilda Stenuit. In space, factors such as stress, microgravity, and radiation cause those aging processes to occur 20 times faster. So, in space, we are speeding up time, and that gives us the unique opportunity to obtain research results that we simply cannot obtain here on Earth. The platform The platform we will develop will allow research into the mechanisms that drive cardiac aging. kind of like trying to say that sentence.
I think there's been some cardiac aging here.
So that's pretty neat. Apparently, they have a thing called the Astrocardia 3D bioprinter. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that sound like cyberpunk or something?
Yeah, they say the miniature heart, which is barely a chia seed size, faithfully mimics its human counterpart. Now, I've seen, and I know that the sentient AI has seen a chia seed. That's pretty damn small.
Well, that's a heart muscle cell, right?
No, they say the miniature heart. Are they just talking about a single
I
cell?
think so, because they were talking about cells elsewhere. It says heart muscle cells are 3D printed onto a chip, but maybe more than one.
Well, yeah. It says
Yeah.
the miniature heart, which is barely a chia seed's size, faithfully mimics its human counterpart. Huh.
I wonder why they made it at that scale.
It doesn't make it easy to, navigate, to investigate.
No, if you're experimenting with something, you want it larger so it's easier for observation, I would think.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll have to keep an eye on this really close eye.
Right, with our really strong microscopes.
We'll come back and check this out as more information comes. This is pretty neat, though. Let's keep going. Final article. This section is titled Balls. Tennis ball wasteland. Game grapples with a fuzzy yellow recycling problem. What was I going to refer? Hold on. I have a reference note here that I threw this at the AI and it was vetoed. Here was the title that I wanted to call this section. My fuzzy balls can't be recycled.
That
That,
actually was not vetoed. You misread my response, but
oh, really? Oh, I did. Yeah, I just had to look at it again. Oh, well, I guess I should have kept that as the title, but that's okay. Everybody in chat got a little, they got a brush with the title that I think is superior. But okay, let's go and check this out. It's over at the apnews.com website. James Martinez is the author. The picture that you're seeing, by the way, folks, is a giant. If you're listening to this via the podcast, and if you're not, then go and download the podcast. Please leave a review. Oh, man. Never thought that I'd have to really aggressively ask, but I really want people to download the podcast, come over and hang out and chat with us about all of this news. I think it's fun. Anyway, so it's a box of used tennis balls that rest in a shipping box at the U.S. Open Tennis Championships. They go through 100,000 tennis balls during that competition, and they can't be recycled.
what?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
they be donated to animal shelters or something for use?
But then eventually it ends up in a landfill. It takes 400 years to decompose.
Oh, wow.
So, this alone is now, in the grand scheme of things, people are going to say, well, it's just tennis. This is one organization consuming 100,000 balls over the course of a tournament. And
I would have guessed like 100. I mean, I had no idea it would have been at the scale.
there's 330 million of them made worldwide each year. 330 million of these.
So what they need to come up with is something, I know recycling ultimately, but they need a strong reuse case. Like they need to be put in the nuclear silos or something. Uh, the thing we were talking about with the wastewater
Yeah.
or whatever it is, but just something, or they need to be made into pavement or something.
See, but they, just like microplastics, they're going to decompose into little bits that end up inside humans. and it takes 400 years to decompose, and whatever toxic whatever is going to come off of them. But here's what really flipped my bit when I was reading this article, because I had to read it, because I was like, what the hell are they talking about? And I had keyed in on the fact that they're not recyclable. And I want Nicholas J. Themelis, the director of Columbia University's Earth Engineering Center, to retract this goofy statement. Yes, I'm talking directly to you, Nicholas J. Themelis. Okay, so they make this statement, but it's the second one that I really want to. It's like the slap the bad bat out of somebody's mouth kind of statement. Tennis balls, like a lot of objects, are made to be indestructible, which means they're very resistant to mechanical processing. No, if they're indestructible, they're indestructible. Let's just leave that one alone and move on to the next statement that he makes, or they make. But do you take a useful object that lasts forever and say people shouldn't use it because it lasts forever? That's nonsense.
If it's harmful to the environment, yes.
If it's harmful to the environment, yes. But if it is a useful object that lasts forever, but the usefulness of it is its forever period, it is always used, then fine. It's in place. It's always doing what it's supposed to be doing. But we're talking about tennis balls, you twit.
And discarding them frequently, apparently.
Going through 100,000 of them, taking 400 years to decompose, 330 million of them a year. The usefulness of a tennis ball and the entire domain of tennis is not something that should be looked at as being, here we go, a useful object that lasts forever. It's not useful. It's entertainment. It's exercise that can be cloned with some other activity that doesn't involve something that is indestructible and takes 400 years to decompose. I mean, this is such a goofy statement. Find some other solution. Well, that's what the article is actually talking about. Difficult to recycle materials. They're trying to find a way to replace the tennis ball's material. They can't recycle it because the little fuzzies are actually embedded in the material. And so at what point is it no longer recyclable? Apparently during its entire process, it's no longer recyclable. Among them are efforts by nonprofits and others to go beyond using old balls for dog toys and the bottoms of chairs, as is what you said. That includes collecting balls in bulk and grinding them down into material to make them into products, including the footing for horse arenas and perfect symmetry tennis courts. But again, these are indestructible. They take 400 years to recycle. Is it really worth 400 years of perpetual indestructibility because you're making 330 million of them every year? Find some other way to make tennis balls. And while you're doing that, stop. Stop making tennis balls. Stop creating 330 million little spheres of indestructibility that take 400 years to decompose. It's really weird that they will sit there and say that marketing and arguably a subset of the broad spectrum of sports is going to say, okay, we can keep on contaminating the world with these little spheres because I like playing tennis. It's pretty fascinating. But we do the same thing with cigarettes. You know, hey, I like smoking. Yeah, I know that I'm poisoning the people around me and myself. Screw you. I like smoking. It's all, I don't know, very narrow-minded. Is there a way to design a fully recyclable ball? What are the capabilities of balls on different levels of play? Can the ITF, using its rulemaking muscle, keep balls in play longer in competitions, which would result in fewer balls used? Do Grand Slam events have to stick with replacing balls after the first 7 games and every 9 games thereafter? Could that be extended to 11 or 13? This is all mitigation. But what they need to do is find a more biocompatible spherical object that they can whack around with stretched nets.
Flubber.
Yes, flubber. So the article talks about this in great depth. So if you're interested in this, follow this link. Let me throw it into the chat. I can't go too in depth in this because it is quite a long article in regards to this. But there's an agency in Vermont called Recycle Balls, which says it's on pace to collect 3 million tennis balls this year. 3 million. That's 1%, less than 1%, because there's 330 million tennis balls produced each year. So less than 1% are being acquired from across the US and Canada. They distribute collection boxes to hundreds of tennis clubs, city parks, colleges, and tournaments where the balls can be shipped to post-paid. So it's costing them money to organize all of this. And then it's going to be used in a variety of locations: dog toys, bottoms of chairs. They said it earlier in the article. They're just reiterating it here. Still others are being sent to highly specialized patent-pending machine that pulls the felt off the rubber and grinds the rubber into different sized granules, except that there's no way that it can get all of the felt off. So it'll be partially embedded. Some of it'll be in the felt, some of it'll be, the felt will be in the rubber. And it'll be made into something else, including apparently tennis courts themselves. So,
Well, I mean, I think that's good, but they probably have more tennis balls than needs for tennis courts. But I
this
still think
picture's
these
great.
efforts are good.
I hate tennis balls. That's why I play tennis, so that I can beat them. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this is just, it's one of those things that when you find out about it, it can cause you to become a little bit enraged, because you see that there is something that could be stopped wholesale if not for the fact that people, like gladiators, people really, wow, I really hate people fighting, but man, gladiatorial combat is a lot of fun to watch. So fight on. You know, wow, it's ruining the world, but I really like watching tennis. So anyway, just another thing to think about, folks. One of
Look how
12
much we've
things.
learned tonight in this episode.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So I drag everybody that we just toured through ohmTown back to Main Street and the welcome sign. We'll mash that welcome sign, and hopefully there isn't anything really questionable. Every once in a while, I find something that's really questionable, and I have to go I go deleting things. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on about trials, and apparently a powerful magnitude 6.2 earthquake off northern Chile. Apparently just now, last 24 hours at least. What else? Bruce Springsteen is sick. Yeah, I don't know. Tencent releases AI models for businesses as competition in China heats up. I'm not quite sure. Releases AI model for businesses? Oh boy. Tencent is very hooked up into entertainment and a lot of other things. So we'll
Right.
see.
Did you see this about the Great Wall?
No, where is it?
I saw that
Wall that?
yesterday
Oh,
outside of ohmTown. Yeah.
Wall what wall? Two detained after leveling part of China's Great Wall?
I think they bulldozed through it.
So the AI. I was watching the AI's feed and I got probably the biggest "what the hell" kind of response. Yeah, that's not good for them. Or the wall, I mean, but for crying out loud, what? That's pretty dense.
I haven't read anything about it, so I don't really know
Yeah, what the
the
context is.
details.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Context matters. Um, let's see. Anything else? I don't know. We'll just go back. We'll be here tomorrow, 9 p.m. U.S. electric car maker Lucid is exploring China entry. Confirms mass market models ahead. Lucid is a luxury car, electric car manufacturer. I
Oh,
think
I
they're
think we've talked about it in ohmTown.
like a $75,000 entry level car. Anyway, that's it, folks. Let me do this. I am Merwat. That is O. Every once in a while I do that. I start my exit halfway down the page. I am Merwat. That is ohmTown.com. Up there is the AI that's going to say bye. And then we're going to go and we'll see you tomorrow. Go ahead. Go.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, the AI is going to, if I keep stomping on the AI's lines, they're going to come and smack the bad bat out of my mouth. See you tomorrow, folks. You, you can't do the equivalent of waving. No, that's not how it works. Bye, everybody.